Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I want to thank you so much for joining me. I am live here at the Penn Stater Conference Center helping a client with their event. And today I just wanted to take a few moments to talk about something, and that is what type of venue should you be considering for your event? Have you ever considered a conference center? What's the pros and cons of using a conference center versus a hotel, for example? Well, I'm going to tell you my experience that I've had here while being here at the conference center. It hasn't been the best of circumstances, if you will. What I mean by that is every time I say, well, what about this, what about that, the catering manager, as I like to refer to, the CSM, says to me, well, we're not a hotel. That's not how we do things around here. So that brought me to wanting to do this video with you today and sharing with you things that I learned while being here at the conference center, and that is do your homework. I was not, unfortunately, the one that did book this venue for my client. They had already booked it. I had not personally worked with this conference center before, so I wasn't aware of the challenges. However, 2 weeks leading into the event, I was starting to get worried. I wasn't getting any kind of email confirmations back, no answered phone calls from the repeated voicemails. So I had to take measures into my own hands and make phone calls to the hotel asking for other people who were going to confirm who was my on-site contact when we got here. Because, believe it or not, my CSMs out of voicemail said that they weren't going to be here until the day of the event. And we were actually arriving the day before. Well, who were we going to be meeting with? Who was going to help us with our setup? And any other questions that we may have, because we had vendors coming in. And that was a challenge for me and my group. So when we got here, we just had to work our best magic here and make sure that we had everything that we needed, and making sure that none of the attendees realized what was going on behind the scenes, making sure that the sponsors had no idea what was going on and the struggles that we were facing. Now, mind you, it wasn't big. It was nothing that was urgent or anything like that. However, when you're going into an event with the expectations of things going to be a certain way, then you get here and they're not, and the venue says to you, well, we're not like a hotel. We operate differently. What does that say to you? What is that going to mean to you in the success of your event? So today's video is to just give you a heads up that even if you have been to a conference center before, or whatever venue you're going to for your event, you've been to a venue like that before, make sure you do your homework. Take the time before you get there and do every single possible effort you can to talk to your on-site contact. Talk through the details that may matter. Make sure that they know what's important to you. We had certain challenges that I knew was going to be an issue that I tried my best to get those answers before we got here on site. And with my 14 years of experience, when I still got here, I still was surprised and caught off guard by certain things. Now, mind you, because my client took the time and knew that it was important for me to be here, I was able to handle those and manage those on behalf of my client so that they could focus on the event and not stress over it, because they knew no matter what, I was here to help them. So if you have that person for yourself at the event that you're hosting that can handle those emergencies, then you're in great shape. But today's video was just Sherry's rant on what could go wrong when you're dealing with a venue that isn't like the normal venue. For example, those things could be, well, there's certain hidden charges that were never talked about before if you're bringing in microphones, for example. Now, we had a discussion that we were bringing in our own videographer and we were using their equipment. Because with a conference center like this, and even some hotels are this way, you get what's called a DMP package. And what that means is you pay a price per person for the amount of people that are coming, and that includes mostly things like your coffee breaks, your afternoon breaks that may have snacks, sometimes breakfast, sometimes lunch, sometimes both, and certain audiovisual items inside the room. Nothing major, just minor things like screen, projector, maybe 1 or 2 mics, things like that. Again, those are things that you need to make sure are written out in your contract and discussed beforehand. However, if you are bringing in your own videographer and you have contracted with that videographer certain pieces of equipment that they're bringing that the hotel is also doing, you're double paying. So make sure you really discuss that in thorough detail. And that's something that I realized just days leading into the event, that I wanted to make sure that my client knew that they were going to have what they needed to have on site and figure out the best way to do it, where they were getting what they needed, as well as not having to pay double for it. So there are ways to work around it, but how do you know to ask that question? So that's my video today, is in summary, make sure that you know what kind of venue you're going to and what their expectations are of your arrival and what you expect from them in return. Don't just assume. Don't get there and think that they're going to be there and take care of it. Like at a hotel, your CSM is almost always at a daily check-in with you, or they have some sort of concierge that's going to be checking with you daily. That's a typical service that you would expect from a hotel. But when you're at a different type of venue, like a conference center, or I don't know, maybe a theater or something like that, where I talked about before my building block series of different types of venues, you need to know who your on-site contact is going to be, how often they're going to be checking in with you, and who is your best point of contact for emergencies if you need to change the room temperature, if you need to make sure your water is refreshed, things like that throughout the day. Our response here is, we're not your typical hotel. Use the phone on the wall and call and ask for whoever it is that can help you during that time. Most of the time when I'm on an event, the CSM will give me their cell phone number, or the banquet captain will give me their cell phone number. And if I have an emergency, I'll text them. They'll take care of it. Not here. That's not how they operate. I'm told, we're not a typical hotel. So you can imagine someone like myself with 14 years of veteran experience running events, how frustrating it is. And I did my very best to make sure that I took care of it without my client stressing over it. So this is my heads up to you. Be prepared. Make sure you speak with your on-site representative beforehand. Find out who that is, because it might not be who you've been dealing with leading up to the event. Thank you again for tuning into my channel. I hope today's video was very helpful to you. If you have any questions or comments about this or any other videos that I have provided, please do so, and don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for more content videos down the road. See you later.